Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Rob Dietl. I'm Director of Executive Programs here at MIT Sloan. Delighted to welcome you to today's webinar, Discover the Potential of AI for Executives. As we're just getting started, it's always wonderful to see where everybody is connecting from today. Typically, we attract a pretty good crowd from around the world, so if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment and saying hello in the comments section, letting us know where you're connecting from, that would be great. We're really excited to have you with us today. We've assembled a wonderful team of faculty, team of two, to discuss some very important topics with you today. I think it's no surprise that AI is kind of dominating the agendas and priorities for executives of all types of industries all around the world. And certainly we've seen a great amount of interest in AI and how it is brought into our executive education programs. We're very committed to upskilling and helping executives better understand how AI is transforming industries and businesses and how they can keep up or hopefully stay ahead of the curve a little bit in terms of AI. As a result of that, we're pleased. We've been launching a number of programs, but this fall, on October 28th, we're going to be launching our first ever AI for Executives Academy. It's going to be October 28th through November 8th. And really, we feel like it's a very important program for us to add to our portfolio. It's a little bit different in the sense that it's also a 10-day program. It's going to span 2 weeks. So it really is an immersive, very deep dive into the world of AI with lots of hands-on application. And we hope that some of you might be interested in learning more about that program and attending. It's great to see everybody coming in from all around the world as I expected. So I know we're spanning some different time zones here, and it's really just wonderful to have you all with us today. I think we have over 1,000 people joining us for today's webinar. And that's not really surprising to me because, as I mentioned, we have two faculty that are here to speak to you today about AI and answer some questions and answer some of your questions as well. One thing that's important to note about this AI Academy is that we're drawing from across the MIT campus. Typically, MIT Sloan Executive Education is comprised of Sloan faculty here at the School of Management, but we've been able to really very pleased to bring in the Schwartzman College of Computing as a partner on this program, and their faculty as well are contributing to this program. And we think that makes it a very unique and special offering. Not only are you getting kind of the management and organizational perspectives on AI, but you're also getting some of the technical knowledge and some insight in terms of where AI is and where it's going. So we feel that joint collaboration between the Sloan School of Management and the Schwartzman College of Computing makes this a really unique and compelling offering. With that in mind, it's my pleasure to introduce our faculty today. As I mentioned, we have faculty from both schools. Eric So is a co-faculty director of our AI Academy. He's also the Sloan Distinguished Professor of Financial Economics. He's taught here at Sloan for several years, but he also has real-world experience in investment management, bringing some insight from the working world as well to his work. He joined MIT in 2012 after earning a PhD from Stanford University's Graduate School of Business and a master's degree in economics from Cornell. Here at Sloan, he's led on several different initiatives, teaching, winning several awards for his teaching. He's also the faculty chair of MIT Sloan's PhD program and the lead faculty for the MIT Sloan Generative AI Hub for Teaching and Learning. Joining Eric for today's program is Sertac Karaman. Sertac is joining us from the Schwartzman School College of Computing, where he's professor of aeronautics and astronautics. He's the director of the Laboratory for Information and Decision Systems, which focuses on interdepartmental research, committed to advancing the research and education in the analytical information and decision-making sciences. Sertac is also the principal investigator for one of the Department of the Air Force's MIT AI Accelerator projects. And his research and application focuses extensively in driverless cars, unmanned aerial vehicles, distributed aerial surveillance systems, air traffic control systems, and many others. So again, we'll have a blend of perspectives, both from kind of the management and organizational perspective, but also from the technical side. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite Eric to start first. If you wouldn't mind just maybe sharing a little bit more. I've given a brief bio, but tell us about your role here at Sloan, your work in the space of AI and maybe a little bit about what you're planning for the upcoming AI Executive Academy.
Terrific. Rob, thanks so much for kicking us off. And I want to extend my heartfelt welcome to everyone joining this LinkedIn event. Very excited to be working with a wonderful collaborator in Sertac, who will do a bit more introduction in a moment. But let me just point out a little bit more about myself and how I arrived at this point. So as Rob mentioned, I graduated from Stanford with my PhD. This was in 2012, and I've spent the past 12 years working here at Sloan. I am a financial economist, but I've spent much of my career wanting to understand the role of technology in shaping both market outcomes and the broader economy. Now, I wish I could tell you that I always knew how much AI was about to change the business landscape over the past couple of years, but the reality is my sort of awakening to the role of AI within business came about from a perspective of an educator. And in particular, what I realized was that AI, in some of the more recent releases of generative AI, were able and quite capable to solve many of the types of problem sets and assignments that we assigned to our master's and PhD level students. Now, the reason why this became obvious to me in terms of business is because much of what we assign to students is part of normal business applications. So this set me on a path to play a key role in shaping learning within MIT Sloan in terms of updating, recognizing the transformative impact that generative AI is having on the economy. So we've been pushing generative AI applications, both for faculty and understanding how they can teach better with generative AI in mind, as well as our students incorporating more of that material into their coursework. Now, what I've learned through these experiences is that it's important for people not just to learn the theory, meaning that they understand the technical side of how generative AI works. It's also quite important for them to experience the use of generative AI hands-on and to work through problems, recognizing that that's probably where the future of work is heading, as us collaborating with AI to solve problems. And through these courses that I've taught to faculty and students, I saw real application to reach a broader audience, and which is why I'm so excited to be part of this AI Academy, along with Sertac, who can tell you a little bit more about the perspective from a computer science expert. So with that in mind, I'll pass it over to you, Sertac.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Rob. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm Sertac Karaman. I'm a professor at MIT's Schwarzman College of Computing. I've been at MIT for almost 2 decades now. I'm trained as an engineer and a computer scientist. I got my PhD degree in computer science also from MIT and also 2012. I'm also the director of MIT's Laboratory for Information and Decision Systems, or LIDS for short. LIDS is an interdisciplinary laboratory that develops the critical computing and AI technologies so that we can enable AI to interact with the real world. For example, make it more autonomous, enable it to provide us with critical information and critical decision-making capabilities. Hence the name of the laboratory, Information and Decision Systems. Today, LIDS is home to 45 professors and more than 300 researchers working on this mission. My own research within the laboratory is in robotics and AI. So my team develops the key algorithms in AI for things like autonomous cars and drones and you name it. LIDS is one of the 2 major laboratories under MIT's new Schwarzman College of Computing, which participates in this program together with the Sloan School of Management. The Schwarzman College of Computing includes our computer science departments and also the major interdepartmental laboratories like LIDS. In addition to being a professor at MIT, I've been fortunate to also be an entrepreneur. I had the opportunity of starting multiple AI-focused companies in different industries like automotive, aerospace. For example, Optimus Ride, a recent one, which was a provider of autonomous mobility services, like, for example, autonomous shuttles, grew to more than 250 employees and was acquired by Magna International in 2021. So I've also taught multiple executive education courses. In addition to teaching coursework in the computer science department, I've taught the executive education courses at the MIT School of Management. As a result, I've been teaching and practicing AI for almost 2 decades now, and I look forward to co-leading this course with Eric, and I look forward to connecting and engaging with those of you who will be participating in the course. So I'll hand it back over to you, Rob.
Yeah, thank you, Sertac. Thank you, Eric, for that great introduction. And again, we're delighted to have you not only here today with us, but as the co-faculty directors of the upcoming academy. I do have a few questions prepared for you. And Eric, if we can start with you, I'd like to ask you, how do you see AI reshaping businesses? And can you provide specific examples of where AI has already transformed financial or economic decision making?
Great, thanks so much, Rob. I think if you open up the press these days, it's hard to ignore how much AI is changing the landscape of business, and it's happening quite quickly. I would say, though, that it's changing the nature of the landscape of business, but not in a uniform way, and nor should we expect that it would be. When we're seeing AI sort of move throughout the economy, I think it can point to different facets of how business is changing. So let me provide a couple examples. So, for example, frontier labs, as well as these AI hyperscalers that many people are familiar with, Google, Facebook, Meta, and the like, they're spending tremendous amounts in developing AI infrastructure in wanting to build out capabilities of AI. And as they continue to make these investments, the implication is that this is quite useful for us who are users of AI systems, because a lot of this competitive landscape is translating into increased capabilities as well as lower costs for those who are accessing models. I also think that you're starting to see AI change the way traditionally non-AI companies are operating. I think we're in the period in which many people recognize the transformative nature of AI and are looking for applications within their organization. Now, it doesn't mean that all applications within organizations are worthwhile, but it does mean that we're in an important experimental phase where it's important to really think about the problems that you're attempting to solve and sensible business applications of AI that I think we're already starting to see happen. One key message I have for folks who are thinking about incorporating AI within their organizations is not to be thinking about AI expenditures as sort of a one-to-one trade-off of like a salary, an employee salary, but rather as an investment like R&D in building capabilities into the future, particularly knowing that the capabilities of AI are increasing and the costs, at least from the consumer side, are decreasing. Finally, the last thing I would point to as an example is that we're starting to see a lot of the startup landscape really oriented around AI, recognizing the enormous business potential to disrupt businesses that have been longstanding without AI, recognizing the ability to transform the way we operate and to reduce costs. So when we think about changing the business landscape, we're really seeing this happen through a variety of business channels, and whether AI is right for an organization really depends a lot on business context. So it's something that I plan to go into a lot more detail as part of the Executive Academy. But let me turn it over to Sertac.
You're on mute, Sertac.
Yeah, of course, completely agree with Eric. And there's not a lot to add, but maybe a couple of things to highlight. I do think that AI is still a rapidly evolving field. And I do think that we're going to see a lot more coming out in the AI field. At the same time, we'll see a lot of the provider of, for example, cloud services or some of the others make a lot of infrastructure available to businesses, traditional or otherwise. And this will enable a number of things for businesses. One is that I think it will make computing a lot more accessible. So this may not be very easy to kind of quickly think about, but you can imagine this as things that you would do in your business that required a lot of computing expertise may all of a sudden be very accessible to you. Whether that is to look at your business and get some insights quickly, or that is a certain set of operations that required a lot of expertise but not immediately accessible. And then the second thing AI is enabling is for you to look at your own data or data available to you in some other way, someone else's data, or data available on the internet. Massive amounts of data that you couldn't look at and get insights before, now you can. And so those are enabling people to either build new products or improve margins on their existing products by reducing costs, or improve their operations and hence achieve the same results. So in that way, I think AI will be very transformational. And there are some examples sort of springing up especially in the tech industry. For example, we're hearing a lot about software engineering being transformed. But I do think that those examples will continue to kind of go into all kinds of industries, whether traditional or bleeding edge and emerging.
Thank you both. Sertac, if I can stay with you for the next question. There's a lot of talk about AI and ethics, and I know this is something that Schwarzman College of Computing is very much involved in as well. Can you share your thoughts on what are some of the ethical considerations companies should keep in mind when deploying AI technologies, and what steps are organizations taking to ensure that their use of AI is both effective and responsible at the same time?
Of course, be delighted. So it's worth noting that in this course in AI Academy, we will go deep into what we're going to call responsible AI. And that's going to cover issues like ethics, for example. But to give you an example, one issue is safety. So you could easily deploy AI that could be harmful for people in ways that you couldn't imagine. So in this new world of AI, just taking it, just deploying it out of the box may not work for some examples. In order to get the full value and be able to deploy it, you need to understand how AI can be deployed in a manner that is safe. To give you better examples, we're going to look at ways of training or fine-tuning AI so that we can do something that we're going to call human alignment. How do we take AI and align it with the values of, for example, your company, the values of your customers, or broadly align it the values of your stakeholders or the values of society? And this is an important practice that you need to be able to look at so that you can deploy AI safely. Even if you're not a directly consumer-facing company, you may realize that AI, if not deployed in the safe, secure way, may confuse people, may confuse your customers, or may give them wrong information. Even today, you log on to some chatbots and, you ask them some question. Sometimes they're wrong and, you chuckle a little bit. But as the industry develops better technologies, we might find ourselves in a position where AI says something which is wrong, but it's not as obvious anymore. And so inadvertently, you end up tricking people without even knowing if you don't know how to deploy AI. So we look forward to going into the details of these issues sort of throughout the course.
And Eric, anything you'd like to add on ethical considerations or examples?
I think Sertac summarized it nicely, but let me highlight that I think there is a lot of consideration being given to the potential for things like bias in LLM outputs. So there's quite a bit of research showing that certain types of LLMs can present favoritism towards certain ethnic groups or certain certain minorities. And I think this is a good example of the importance of careful monitoring of LLM outputs and understanding both their capabilities, but also their limitations. As Sertac mentioned, I think there is a general ethical consideration given to the concern for general harms. For example, the concern that LLMs will give people bad advice or things that are really just harmful for them. There is also this additional consideration, and something we'll talk more about, which is the potential for data leakage. And so oftentimes what we're seeing now is that many companies are being, I think, a little bit behind their employees in terms of rolling out company-wide AI policies. And what's happening is a lot of employees are taking it upon themselves to bring AI from home, implementing it within their own workflows. And when that happens, there's always this risk of concern for potential data leakage as people upload work-related documents to LLM chatbots. So these are a lot of the ethical issues that I think are really critical for executives to understand, to grapple with. And this is something we'll certainly touch more on in our course.
Great. Thank you both. So another consideration, and you've already alluded to this a little bit, but I'd like to go a little bit deeper. How can businesses leverage AI technology to improve experiences for both their customers, but also for their employees?
Great. So in terms of businesses leveraging for customers, this relates to what Sertac mentioned earlier. I tend to think of it in terms of its ability to help personalize products or output. So for example, LLMs show tremendous capability in processing information to sort of contextualize and tailor to my preferences in a way that I think really wasn't capable before at large scale. It's also the case that the ability to automate certain tasks means that we have potential cost reductions that companies can use to pass on to their consumers. I also think what we're starting to see is the expansion of products and offerings that are available to customers. Simply by having access to this new technology, companies are learning to innovate to provide new types of services that weren't accessible before. For example, we're seeing the big growth of things like AI therapists or AI coding partners that are really kind of expanding what is capable. Now, what I'm also really excited about is not just for the consumer, but for the employee. There's a lot of research that highlights the implications for AI for productivity. So people, I'm sure, are aware that there's a lot of potential to raise the amount of output we can produce per amount of work. But I think the real promise and what makes me so excited about AI and the future of work is that it allows people often to outsource sort of mundane tasks, a lot of things that pose a cognitive load and are draining for people, to the extent that they can automate portions of this, of course, with monitoring to AI systems. This allows us to free up time for the things that I think really are more enjoyable for employees, including things like creative outcomes, I think really focusing on higher level tasks. And I think that companies that smartly deploy this technology to improve their workforce experience, I think are going to see this both in terms of lesser burnout, more enjoyment within work, and hopefully greater job retention. So with that in mind, I'll pass it to Sertac.
Yeah, I think that is a really excellent summary of how we can use AI in your business even today. I'm excited to add, some of the things that we'll touch upon in the class that may come out in the coming years, and that'll be for, how you can use AI in your business maybe tomorrow, in like 2-3 years from now. We expect things like some sophisticated simulation systems, synthetic data systems to trickle in. So imagine being able to develop a product and have synthetic testers out there on cloud services to go out, 100,000 people use your product, but they're actually synthetic so that they can give you some ideas. Of course, nothing can replace real experiments, but it could be an amazing set of tools for you to develop your products and help you innovate. We also expect AI to be able to take more autonomy. So today we envision a lot of AI products that still increase productivity by, for example, looking at big data sets and summarizing them for you. In the future, we think of AI operating in certain ways where humans are still connected, but rather they do more of the monitoring tasks, ensuring that the AI is doing the things in the right way that they're doing, or ensuring that AI is human alignment, but AI taking more autonomy. And that's across your business, whether that is some operational aspects of your business or whether that is outright innovation in your business. So some exciting future that we look forward to talking to you more about.
Absolutely. And as we look to the future and the continuing evolution and development around AI, a question for both of you. What role does government policy play in the future of AI?
Sertac, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So that is a great question. I will admit outright that, of course, it'll be difficult for us to, tell you what the government would do. It is uncertain, admittedly. However, we do expect that, given the considerations of responsible AI deployment, we do expect government policy to come in to at least regulate, ensure safe deployment in AI, especially as it reaches the consumer. So, for example, if you have an AI product that is interacting with the consumer directly, especially, say, minorities, then you could expect there would be some regulations around how safe your AI could be deployed. There could be other areas of government regulation that might impact how you deploy AI together with your other business partners. So, for example, there could be regulations on the use of data from your customers, even if you just pass it out to, say, a cloud provider for them to train new models. So we look forward to going into some of the considerations that's happening today, that's being talked about. And then we look forward to having you think about how government policy in certain ways could impact your business.
That's a really nice summary, Sertac. Let me say that for those of you who have been paying close attention to the news in the past couple of days, you may have seen that SB 1047, this California AI regulation bill, passed through Congress and is moving and sort of being pushed to the governor's desk. And I think it's a good example of some of the potential for regulation that's happening. Now, it's not clear to me that it'll pass. But as an economist, I tend to view things both through incentives and trade-offs. And in the context of regulation, I think one of the things you're starting to see play out is this trade-off that happens between ensuring safety, but at the same time, not losing a competitive edge in terms of the AI landscape. This is happening not just in state legislatures. It's, I think, happening on a broader international scale, as governments are really struggling with understanding that the cost of putting on AI regulation, which is intended for safety, versus wanting to ensure that our consumers, our public are protected, and that our businesses are well suited to compete. We've seen already some evidence and data about the role of regulation of AI within Europe and what this has done to the AI startup scene within Europe. And so this is some of the detail that we'll talk a bit about and wanting to understand some AI regulatory risk, but we'll certainly go into more detail on these issues.
Great, thank you both. And we're starting to see some great questions come in through the comments. If it's all right with you, I'd like to, Eric, stay with you, given your background in finance and economics as well. How do you think AI will impact financial systems across regulation?
Yeah, it's a really, really great question. AI has the potential to, I think, transform the nature of financial markets, both through what we do and what we consume. Certainly, the implications of AI for changing the nature of work are not at all limited to traditional companies, but will certainly apply to the financial service sector. Thinking about not only the formulation of like asset allocation decisions using AI to help us process large amounts of data in real time, to reduce the barriers for things like coding and processing data. But I also see that AI shows enormous potential, both good and bad, to influence the way in which prices are set within financial markets. As Sertac mentioned earlier, I think there's a real risk that we need to grapple with in terms of AI changing the nature of information sharing. So as it becomes very cheap to produce information that looks plausible but is in fact false, I think we need to grapple with the fact that people are going to change the nature of how they interpret information. And so the role of growth of potential fake news, I think, is going to be quite important for the broader economy, but also, of course, for financial markets. So I see AI affecting many sectors, but finance being first and foremost in my mind, given my orientation and expertise. But perhaps I'll pass it over to Sertac to fill in.
Yeah, I think that on that regard, I don't have anything major to add. But I would say that, we anticipate a lot of new thinking in the industries around how they use and monetize their data. Like, for example, you might be in a business where you're selling, say, some hardware for other businesses to collect data. And you might all of a sudden realize if you had the data of the businesses that you're selling to using this hardware to collect data, you would improve your hardware. But how do you get access to that data? So I do think that we're going to see all kinds of ways of the data being collected, shared, utilized within the industry, and how can you actually enable learning within that data. To go a step further, I do think that there's going to be certain companies who actually take the initiative to set up marketplaces around data. We're seeing a little glimpses of these kinds of things in a little bit of the finance industry, maybe. But I do think that the kind of utilization and sharing of data could transform a number of businesses in terms of how they actually see and look at their products and what do they market exactly. And this may impact finance or some of the others.
So along those lines, we're seeing some questions come in about particular industry impact and industry application. For instance, HR management or manufacturing. Rather than looking at all the verticals, do you see that there are any commonalities so that across a variety of industries, are there common themes where you see AI or generative AI having a shared impact? And maybe you can comment a little about that, and then if there are variances in the different verticals, your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that maybe the shared impact, I will go back to one of the things that we mentioned. The immediate impact to me ends up being giving people access the data, large scale data, in ways they didn't have before. Of course, you could go search your data, right? You could go and organize your data, order your data in certain ways. You could structure it and so on. Even with unstructured data, you could do searching. But now it feels like the AI technology can find statistical similarities in the data that you have or you have access to either through the internet or through your partners, and presents insights to you within that data. Even when we call generating something off of the data is to find those statistical similarities and combine them in a certain way to then present it back to you. And we'll talk about how large this data is in the course, but just to give you a preview, it is extremely large. It's not something that you couldn't even hire thousands of people to review the data. Even that is not possible. So then that's a key enabler, I think, for every industry to be able to look at your data in ways you couldn't do before. But I think going forward, kind of maybe taking one more step forward, some of the key things is to have AI do a little bit of automation for you. Simple examples are prepare me slides. But more sophisticated examples would be to maybe take certain steps, say, in a hiring process, and have AI automate that process. We'll talk a lot about that. So you'll never, of course, blindly trust AI. That will entail that there's going to be people who are monitoring how that AI works. But if I were to think about how would AI impact multiple verticals in this way, that's how I would think about it. And I would see that, I guess, manufacturing was mentioned. I would see that a variety of manufacturing processes could be impacted in a similar way, where you might all of a sudden start collecting data off of your manufacturing processes, and you might realize there's a lot of new insights, new savings, improvements that you can implement. And a step forward, maybe you can automate some of those manufacturing processes with human monitoring and involvement. And you might be able to do similar things in AI in the hiring process as well.
Yeah, let me just add to what Sertac mentioned. I think it's important objective of any executive is to really think about mapping what's known as the jagged frontier. So the jagged frontier refers to the capabilities of current or frontier AI systems, recognizing that there are some tasks for which AI is very well suited and others for which it does poorly. And I think that oftentimes we're shown examples either where AI has failed or AI has done very well. And I think recognizing some of the themes of what has particularly done well and that are relevant for your business, I think are an important objective for people wanting to stay at the frontier, recognizing the capabilities of these AI, particularly as it evolves over time. So part of what we want to do is to provide frameworks for making sure that folks understand what is the frontier and how to think about adjusting their business given the sort of expanding capabilities of these AI systems.
Thank you both. So given the rapid evolution of AI, what skills do you believe are essential for executives and business leaders to effectively incorporate AI into their strategies? And how can programs like the AI Executive Academy help bridge the knowledge gap for non-technical leaders?
Yeah, so great question, Rob. Let me start out by saying I think an important first step for people to deploy AI effectively is to make sure that they have an understanding of how these AI systems operate. Now, maybe not at the computer scientist level that Sertac and some of his colleagues go into, but I think in understanding the nature of how they operate gives you a lot of insights into what it does well and where it does not. Additionally, I think what's really important for executives, for people running organizations, is to understand the capabilities of these AI systems firsthand. And what I mean is that I think a lot of learning happens by people actually trying to use AI to solve problems, recognizing where it does well and where it does not. And through that learning experience, they're able to figure out how AI can be deployed within their organizations in an effective manner. So much of what we hope to do at the AI Academy is not just to teach you theory, not just to give you evidence from studies, it's to show you how to incorporate it within your organization and to have you experience what that would be like and to help assess the quality of those outputs. So we're going to combine a lot of overview and sort of cutting edge research, but also ask you to really grapple with issues that are relevant for your organization. In my opinion, that's really the best way to learn.
Yeah, and that's a great summary. And to highlight a couple of things there is that this is our 2-week program on AI. MIT Executive Education has other programs that are shorter. But in a 2-week program, we really hope to accomplish what Eric has mentioned, where we'll give you some hands-on experience on understanding sort of these new AI technologies to make sure it's clear. It's not the kind of experience, of course, we would give it out to the PhD students who are graduating from the Schwarzman College of Computing. But it will still be at a level where you'll get a chance to play around with some of these models and you'll understand and you'll comprehend what they're capable of, but more importantly, what are some of the challenges and what are some of the opportunities in deploying them within your business at scale. And so hence, we prepared this 2-week program so that we can incorporate both the theory, the insights, and also some of the use cases and case studies that you can get more insights from, but at the same time, a little bit of that hands-on experience so that you really get a chance to understand the opportunities and challenges in this space.
It's wonderful to hear about your approach in designing the academy and that real practical application of knowledge, people being able to practice and learn skills as well, in addition to hearing about the frameworks and learning about the frameworks. Can you comment a little bit? So the participants, the executives that attend the academy, they're going to be here at MIT for 2 weeks, 10 days in the classroom in the kind of the heart of the MIT Kendall Square innovation ecosystem. And beyond yourselves teaching, which is wonderful, you're drawing faculty from Sloan and Schwarzman. Can you talk a little bit more about the kind of the macro level view of what participants will experience while they're here at MIT for the program?
Great question, Rob. I would say part of the way that we design this program is to ensure that you're hearing from leading experts that are thinking about AI from different issues, certainly from the technical side, but also from the business implementation side, thinking about issues that are front and center within organizations that also align with MIT faculty expertise. So for example, we have a number of faculty that will be talking about applications within organizations, how to spur broader adoption. Those that are really focused on ethical issues within organizations will provide a lens for understanding AI ethics. Additionally, we have ways of thinking about investments and what is sort of the right level. And this is where we're going to rely on those that are focused in economics and financial decisions. And so we have, I think, that I'm very excited is that we have a number of faculty drawing across a wide range of expertise, but all oriented around a goal to equip executives with what they need to succeed in this new changing AI environment. Sertac?
Yes, that's really excellent. And something to highlight is that this being a collaboration between MIT's Sloan School of Management and Schwarzman College of Computing, we really are putting together a star set of faculty who will give you both the perspective from a management side, but as well as the perspective from the more technology side. And when I say technology, I mean kind of we will have people who've actually invented some of the things that you're kind of seeing nowadays come up in the marketplace back, say, like 5-10 years ago. And you'll get a chance to interact with them and talk to them on the Schwarzman College of Computing side. An equally talented set of people kind of who have really invented and have been working on and still working on the management theory or management practice behind how you take AI and put it into your business.
Great. That's great to hear. Thank you both. Going back to some questions that are coming in, this might be a little bit more of a technical question. So, Sertac, I'll start with you, but Eric can certainly add his comments as well. Since there are multiple AIs competing for the same task, what do you think about the different databases used for training each different AI?
Yeah, that is a great question. And these are the kinds of questions I think you'll be able to answer, at the end of the program yourself, having, a way to look at what these models are capable of and what they do. But one of the things I would like to say right away is that one way to think of AI models is to compare them with software. So think about the data being the source code and the model being almost like a compiled version of the source code. And so then different AI models, of course, there's a lot of different algorithmic advances that might make them more efficient or more interesting, and in some other ways, different for different kinds of industries. But ultimately, it's a compilation of their data. And the data includes both the raw data, but also the data that is being injected as we do human alignment. Many of these companies pull data off of the internet, and they a little bit differ from each other by the way they do human alignment. And we'll discuss that a little bit. So the kinds of differences that you might see in, say, Gemini versus OpenAI, of course, there's algorithmic differences that make one of them more efficient versus the other. But the private data being injected is either their own databases that they're using, or more likely that the human alignment piece that they do maybe a little bit differently. So now other companies might get a chance to inject data that they own privately. And so that could add more value or not into the ecosystem. When we look into the future, we think that from a technological point of view, it will be possible for companies to aggregate data. And so aggregate source code in ways that wouldn't be visible to other companies and still be able to compile it into a model together and hand it out to you. And so then I could envision that, you might be looking at, say, a LinkedIn that might be a Microsoft affiliated company, aggregate data with OpenAI, for example, and be able to provide you a certain kind of a model that gives you a certain experience, versus some other company could aggregate data from elsewhere with their own partners and would give you a certain other experience. So this is a little preview, but within the course, we'll give you this understanding of AI from a technological point of view so that you'll be able to think about these types of things yourself. In fact, in some of the exercises, we'll actually get you to think about these types of questions.
Great, thank you. I did see a question come in too about any prerequisites for the program. Can you talk a little bit about what level of knowledge or experience do people need to have, technical skills to attend the academy? What are your thoughts there in terms of designing each cohort that attends the program?
Great. So let me mention that this course is designed for executives. It's not designed for people with PhDs in computer science. Much of the goal of our faculty is to make sure that our technical insights land with folks without necessarily that technical orientation. And so for those who are joining the program, really what we want them to bring is their perspective on their organization, about the problems that they're grappling with. And our goal is to make sure that they leave with an understanding of how AI can be applied effectively. And you'll notice this not just in the design of the material, but also what's asked of them. I think that this is not a program where we're going to be asking people to do, for example, a lot of computer programming or coding, if at all. And we're going to make sure that whatever our key messages are, they resonate with folks who don't have that technical background. In fact, that's what I think is part of the appeal of the program, is hearing from these technical experts that we have within MIT, but to translate it in a way that reaches people who don't have the technical background.
That's right, and I can only highlight and emphasize that. So you wouldn't, if that's the question, you wouldn't need any technical expertise whatsoever. We will have you sometimes using a computer, but as simple as going on a website and looking at a bunch of blocks, clicking a few places, and so on, and seeing what the AI responds to. What is critical, however, is the experience that makes an executive. So the program is designed for executives.
That's great. Another question that's come in, and there are lots that are coming in, so I'm trying to get to as many as possible. AI has the potential to transform healthcare delivery. Data security remains tantamount. Can you discuss data security efforts across industries?
Sertac, do you want to handle this?
Yes, of course. So that is a very good question. I think one of the key differences in this new, let's call it computing revolution, when compared to other revolutions that we've seen, like, for example, the hardware revolution in the 60s, 70s, or the software in the 80s, connectivity in the 90s and 2000s. The key thing in this new, let's call it the AI revolution in computing, is that it has data. And it has a lot of data. As I said earlier, it's not the kind of data that you can ask people to review. And so most often you have collected a large scale of data. There's bits and pieces of that data that no one has looked at. And you have now shoved that into a model. And that model sometimes is literally your product. That's what you're selling. So then as a result, data security becomes a very important issue. And there's traditional issues in data security, like, for example, do you get hacked? Does someone copy it? Can people obtain a copy of it? Or can people, change it while it's on your servers? So there's the traditional security issues, but it's more than that. Often you'll find yourself literally yanking data off of the internet. Or you will buy models that have done that. As I said earlier, a model is nothing but a compiled data set. And so then you go into more sophisticated data security issues that you need to handle that we'll touch upon within the program briefly. And this is being recognized in the industry already. So there's already tools that are being utilized, say, in big tech companies to make sure that they read out data that are either maliciously or unintentionally injected into data sets that would then taint, for example, the performance of models. So it's a good question. It's going to be something that we go into deeper. Hopefully this gives you a bit of a highlight of what we're going to talk about.
Great. What is the best way for a company to quickly integrate AI and align its strategy to concentrate on improving market intelligence and expanding strategic decisions about new technologies and solutions? This includes considering which innovations to pursue and acting swiftly in anticipation of potential market shifts.
Well, this is a big question. I think a lot of organizations are grappling with. I mean, part of the messaging that I give to organizations is really to recognize that oftentimes employees are the best ones who can understand how AI can affect their day-to-day work. Certainly, there's a strategic executive discussion that needs to happen. But part of what I have encouraged organizations to do is to really invite AI to the table and create an environment in which employees feel licensed to do it in a safe way. So sometimes this can, come in the form of something of a hackathon or a contest where people illustrate the implications of AI for their nature of work or their particular product line to show other people. And it's really when you foster that environment where people can understand what it does well and what it does not, I think you're going to see a lot of this type of innovation. Now, of course, as the prior question alluded to, security is going to be, I think, of a central concern. And so it has to be done in a way that balances that, I think, potential for growth through this type of collaboration against ensuring that the data privacy remains within the organization. So I see a lot of potential to change many facets of this, but I think a lot of that innovation happens as people start to really experiment. And this comes from also creating a culture or environment that I think encourages that type of AI innovation.
Mm-hmm. And also I would add that the AI Academy, as opposed to other executive education courses, might be a unique place to get a bit of a taste on how would your employees interact with some of those AI tools. So we'll show you some basic things that, as I said earlier, you can get access to without any kind of knowledge of computer science. But you'll get a chance to see a bit of a glimpse is if you ran this experiment with your employees on using AI in a safe way, what is it that they'd be doing? So we'll get a chance to show you that just a little bit throughout the program because we have this 2-week long focused program, which is unique.
And I've seen several questions come in around monetization and kind of the changing business models. And Sertac, I think you mentioned that earlier in one of your responses. But can
That's
you
right.
talk, or both of you talk a little bit more about maybe market structures in place of data monetization? Is this going to be concentrated in a few key companies, or is this something that's going to be decentralized, opportunities for all? Perhaps, Sertac, with your experience in founding some companies, maybe you can speak about capital formation in that space and thoughts in general in terms of monetization of data.
Yes, of course. I think it's important to highlight that it's a fast moving space. So things are changing rapidly. But we see glimpses of either in new startups or even major tech companies, kind of this marketplaces that start to form. So, for example, this is going to be abstract, but suppose you have a product and that product enables new data. Other businesses can buy that product and gather this new data on their own. Or you could actually use the same product that you're selling to then gather data. And that data then goes into a marketplace that not only you can sell that data, but other participants of the marketplace can also sell their own data, which they collected using your product. You can sell data directly. As I said, it's kind of like selling code open source. Nothing wrong with that, but it's one way of doing it. Or you can create a model to then sell access to that model in different ways. What could this be like? So this could be, say, a platform for hiring. And people can deploy this platform in different ways. And this platform will naturally generate data when it's online. This could be something much more sophisticated. Frankly, it could be a hardware. So we talk to companies that sell manufacturing machines, and these machines get deployed in factories. They generate a lot of data. Most often, the manufacturer of the machine doesn't actually have access to data. But now they're thinking maybe they could create a marketplace. And in that marketplace, a lot of the manufacturers could put their data. And if this data could be put and shared in a way that's private to the manufacturer, but then could then enable building of more sophisticated models that could benefit everybody, that all of a sudden creates a marketplace with its own pricing structure, its own dynamics, and it's a new kind of marketplace. And so we see a little bit of glimpses of the sophisticated implementation of AI marketplaces. That said, it could be as also simple as a manufacturer of manufacturing machines connecting with their customers and gathering their data in some way, maybe through certain other incentives and building models. I think those could also be very valuable.
Great. And there's a question, Justin, what AI platforms and apps will be used during the Academy exercises?
So we'll have folks be working with some of the frontier AI systems. So many people are familiar with ChatGPT, which is a product from OpenAI. But additionally, we'll be showing capabilities to build more customized versions of AI systems. So for many people, their experience working with AI is limited to a chat window. And part of what we want executives to realize is the capabilities of AI systems, even if you're not a technical company, can easily expand past these website-based applications and building things that are more custom, that incorporate your particular workflow or circumstance. So as Sertac mentioned, we won't be asking people to code, but we'll show you how you can build these systems by simply pointing and clicking through applications that allow you to build these sort of custom AI systems. So I think the specific AI systems we'll point you to, we'll detail and more into the course. But needless to say, we'll show you frontier systems and how you can do quite a bit more than just working with websites.
Great, thank you for that. Does AI turn the scientific method on its head? Are the days of formulating a hypothesis gone and we leapfrog to analyzing the data from the experiment and drawing conclusions?
Yeah, this is an excellent question. We're still learning what AI cannot do, but it seems like, yes, it is. It seems like AI is again giving us this ability to look at very, very large data sets in ways we couldn't do before. It's also giving us ability to simulate new things. And so then as a result, we're realizing that even scientists could be empowered by AI, just like your employees can be. And in fact, in some sciences, I think we're walking into this regime where scientists who do not utilize AI just fall behind. I think these kinds of things are happening now. And it's not a big surprise. We've seen it in very limited sort of domains where, for example, nowadays chess players, those who train with AI are a ton better against human players than those who don't train with AI. And now this is like very well known. What does AI really enable? AI enables the chess players to look at millions, trillions of simulations and gain insights from such simulations of games. And if you don't have those insights, then you're not able to perform. And I think we're seeing similar things in the scientific domain. I would say that we're still pretty far away from, say, AI proving a theorem on its own. So that's the autonomy bit. But I think we're already there in terms of AI giving people insights off of large data sets. And these are a little bit the two extremes that I kind of see it. But slowly, I think we're going to make progress in the direction of more and more autonomy for AI, and get to a point where AI will be really influential in scientific discovery, including mathematics, not just the scientific fields.
So let me just quickly add to that. I've had the pleasure of giving many talks to organizations about thinking about AI in recent days. And part of the central message that I've given throughout these talks is that I think the real risk to our employees, our students, is not that they are necessarily replaced by AI, but rather they are replaced by someone who knows how to better use AI. This was part of the motivation for developing the AI Executive Academy. But it speaks to this question because, as Sertac mentioned, I think a lot of the innovative research is starting to incorporate more AI within the research workflow, particularly as the capabilities of these systems expand. For example, including more advanced reasoning, I think we're going to really start to see it change the nature of research and how research is done, including hypothesis formulation and testing. So it's a really exciting time to be in the space, but a central message being it's important to understand how these systems work and how they can be applied.
That's great. And I see we're quickly approaching the top of the hour, so I'd like to just ask one last question of each of you. I know you've been hard at work envisioning and designing the Executive Academy, the AI Executive Academy. What's one thing that excites you the most about launching this academy on October 28th?
So perhaps I'll kick this off. I would say, just speaking very candidly, the thing I'm most excited about is this cross MIT collaboration. We have people who are really focused on business applications of AI. And we're so fortunate to have wonderful colleagues like Sertac, who are computer scientists who work in the more technical side. And I think when we bring together these perspectives, all of it with the goal of training executives, I think this is really where the magic will happen. And so I plan to be there every day, excited to participate with you, and of course, engage in this dialogue, really wanting to understand the issues that executives are grappling with. This will really help inform how we go about teaching, and of course, shift some of the dialogue. So with that in mind, I'll pass it over to Sertac.
Yeah, I think that this is very good explanation overall. And I don't think there's much to highlight from me.
Great. So a few important things to note. I want to thank you both for your time today, and I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions to our audience today in the question box, but want to thank you also for being wonderful guests today and submitting so many questions for our faculty. A few things to note. The program, as I mentioned, launches on October 28th. There is an application that's required. It's a fairly short and simple application, but the second round for applications, the deadline is actually tomorrow. So if you're interested in applying to attend the AI for Executives Academy, I'd encourage you to submit your application. The third and final round of applications will end October 11th. So I encourage you, if you're not able to get your application in the second round, please do submit in the third round. We're considering applications during these different rounds as they come in, and we certainly welcome you here on the MIT campus. Another unique thing about this program is that if you attend the Executive Academy, you're going to earn an executive certificate in digital business. And many of you may know, if you've taken our programs, it often takes people up to 4 years to earn an executive certificate. Of course, you can do it in a shorter time frame, but just by attending this one program in October and November, you'll leave MIT with an executive certificate in digital business as well. So we think that's a special part of the program. Again, I'd like to thank Eric Sertac for your time today. I'd like to thank our wonderful marketing team for organizing today's webinar. There's always lots more information available on our MIT Sloan Executive Education website. We offer a variety of programs that run throughout the year. This program will run again. We're determining the number of times it will run in 2025, but we're very excited for its debut towards the end of October. And we encourage you to explore all of our programs. We offer them here on campus. We offer some of our programs live online or even self-paced online learning. So wherever you are, whatever your interests are, we hopefully have a program that aligns with your needs. And we would really look forward to welcoming you to the MIT classroom on campus or online. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.